next guest says the masters of the universe have already missed the boat and should have sold shares in these companies last year. He's Legal & General's Global Head of Credit Research, Georg Grodzki, and he joins us now in the studio. Georg, thanks for coming in. You know, what does this withdrawal by New York tell us of the wider market for these initial public offerings?
Well, the market is clearly not as robust as it was expected to be, and a rethink is probably necessary. Equity markets had a good recovery from the very dark days early last year, but that recovery may not have been more than a short-term blip in the wider context of possibly a long-term downtrend in shares. Certainly there are research analysts out there which predict several years of decline for equity markets due to the poor growth prospects, due to the sovereign debt problems, and they can see PE ratios falling much further from here.
Is it about Europe? Is Europe failing to recover slower than US and Asian markets? And you mentioned the sovereign debt issue. Of course, you refer to Greece here. How does that play into things?
I think it just heightens the level of uncertainty and the feeling that we're still in very uncharted territory. Let's not forget that the banks are not yet fixed either. We are facing a major overhaul in banking regulation, which would call into question the ability of banks to lend or to continue their business as they've done in the past. And certainly private equity firms, for example, to name one category, relies on banks being willing and able to lend big numbers to relatively highly leveraged credits for that business model to work. So therefore, the banking system's repair work, which is still underway, of course, puts a question mark over many other issues as well.
Now, what other exit options are available for companies? I mean, how easy is it to get a trade sale for one thing? Let's look at that aspect. And indeed other exit options.
It depends, of course, on each industry. There are a number of consolidation opportunities out there in a number of sectors, but some sectors are already highly consolidated, so competition authorities would stand in the way of further trade transactions and trade sales. And B, not all the potential trade buyers at the moment are in the mood of leveraging up.
Very quickly, Georg, when are things likely to improve? The IPO market. And my second part is, what sort of hit are these investment banks taking on this?
Well, investment banks at the moment are dealing with a lot of issues, and as I said, the volatile regulatory framework is probably the biggest one. But of course, in the recent weeks, we have seen equity markets, we have seen bond markets as well, showing volatility which is quite tricky to deal with. And when will it end? Probably not for many more months.
Georg, thanks very much indeed for coming.